Hey everyone, Jordan M is back. I did a video on Jordan M a few months back on his Jeff and Dave shorts, which is a series of really cringy short videos that he does to strawman critics of Islam and lie about Islam. Now his channel content got deleted a few months back just inexplicably, and I thought I wouldn't have a chance to do any more of these, but sometime in the last month or so he seems to be back up, so we can sit back, we can enjoy going through these one by one because they're absolutely ridiculous. And we got a couple of crackers to start with today. We're going to do one on multiple wives in Islam and one on wife beating. So let's begin.
Here, Jeff, I read something that made me so happy, mate. Why don't you tell me about it?
What's that then, Dave?
You Muslims can have 4 wives. That means 4 stag parties. Whee!
Yeah, like that would be the response from anyone for stag parties. I mean, who cares about stag parties? But again, this is the way he sort of does this kind of non-Muslim critic as just like the stereotype kind of chavvy kind of stereotype working class moron, essentially. So he can make himself look better by kind of starting a critique off from this artificial low point.
Firstly, Dave, there ain't going to be no stag parties. And secondly, this is actually quite a serious topic.
It's alright, mate. You'll be like me. You'll have side tings.
Having 4 wives is actually a serious obligation for a Muslim man.
Oh yeah, of course it's a serious obligation. Nothing to do with having multiple sex partners, is it? It's always a burden.
He has to be just to each wife, financially, emotionally, and not many men.
Yeah, but is that ever actually broken down into what that means? Or is that just some vague nonsense term that you can interpret any way you like? I mean, has it actually been worked out? I mean, there's nothing in the Quran about it. I've not really heard anything in the Hadiths about it. I mean, you could argue all sorts of different ways. You could treat them unjustly and say, well, one wife isn't behaving as well as the other, so therefore I treated her in a different way, but it was perfectly just in Allah's eyes. I mean, this idea is so vague and so weak, it could easily be misused.
Can actually do that.
Yeah, my mother-in-law keeps having a go at me just because we ain't got our own house yet.
Well, imagine having 4 mother-in-laws. Imagine having to have 4 houses.
What do you mean having to have? It's not like you want to provide it, is it? I mean, and let's be honest, since polygamy is not recognized in the UK, I can certainly say in this country that having these so-called 4 wives is potentially a way of just getting 4 houses off the council. Now, again, I'm not trying to stereotype about all Muslims or anything like that. You're acting as if this is some great financial burden. No, it's a great way of financially scamming social housing in this country. That's what it is.
I'll tell you what, Jeff. I think you're better off sticking with 1, to be honest, mate.
Oh yeah, he does this stupid look to the camera thing. This is how he ends every one of these videos. If you've not seen Jordan M before, he thinks this is funny. It's like, oh yeah, let me look at the camera like he's asking stupid questions. Well, it just go back to the same thing. This whole 4 wives thing, yeah, it's all such a burden, isn't it, for Muslim men? It's such a terrible burden. Nothing to do with the fact that you just want to have sex with more than one woman and you want it legally built into your marriage situation, which is extra ironic because you get the same clowns who go on about saying, oh yeah, Islam is really great for the nuclear family. What kind of nuclear family has 4 wives and potential sex slaves on top of that? So yeah, it's ridiculous. And the claim that it's some kind of burden, some kind of really difficult thing, yeah, it's not how it is. It is there basically to satisfy men's lusts. It always has been. And all this pretense that it's some austere honor burden, it's just bullshit. Anyways, let's move on to the second one.
Yeah, Jeff, I've got a question for you. How come there's so much domestic violence in Muslim cultures?
I think you'll find, Dave, there's domestic violence in all cultures, mate.
Nah, not in my culture, mate.
Straw man, that's absolute. What person on this planet would ever claim there is no domestic violence in their own culture? So again, this is how he sets the bar so low in this. He presents such a straw man of a critique, like anybody would ever claim that. This is the only way that Jordan M can make Islam look in any way respectable, is to strawman the other side, that anyone who's critique it is going to ask such ridiculous questions or make such ridiculous claims. No one's ever going to say that. Of course, there's domestic violence in everyone's culture.
But remember, this is my culture too. But check out this stat.
Yeah, I mean, is UK culture really yours, Jordan? I mean, you pretty much abandoned everything about this culture. Let's be honest. If you are advocating for Sharia, you are the antithesis of anything within this country now.
Yeah, when England lose in the Football World Cup, domestic violence goes up by 1/3.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. There are a lot of things, a lot of really bad things that do trigger a rise in domestic violence. And if you look at sporting events, you know, I've seen pictures from Muslim majority countries like Pakistan when they lose at the cricket and you see burning effigies in the streets. So let's not pretend that this is just a UK thing. But yeah, you're right that there is all sorts of unjustified reasons, or you know, terrible, superficial reasons like sport, which does raise domestic violence levels. But so what? We all recognize that that's wrong. It's still against the law. What we're talking about here is the Quran legally sanctioning domestic violence. That's the point. So this whataboutery pointing at sports that might increase domestic violence, it's such a bullshit response. There's just no justification to be trying to lean on that and compare that to legally sanctioned violence against your wife. But it gets worse.
Oh, don't bring that up. I can't believe England plays so bad. Anyway, it says in your Quran you can beat your wife.
Yeah, it does. So this is the key point. What's your answer to this, Jordan? I imagine it's going to be fucking stunning.
Dave, the surah you're referring to, An-Nisa, the first verse is men are protectors of women.
So fucking what? You can be a protector and still have the legal right to beat someone, so that was a waste of time.
And this beat you're referring to, which there are many stages leading up to this, the Prophet, peace.
Oh, there's many stages leading up to them before you get to smack her about. Oh, that's fine then. You know, that's really civilized.
Someone said you can't strike the face, you can't cause harm, can't leave a mark.
Yeah, there are some hadiths like that try to sort of mitigate the violence that the Quran allows against your wife. There are also other hadiths. One that comes to mind was basically saying the Prophet said, I think it was Dawood. I will put this in the description. The Prophet said a man will not be asked as to why he beat his wife. So at best, you can say that the hadiths are giving mixed messages about the kind of violence. But even if you mitigate it, that still does not mean that you can't beat your wife. It just means, okay, well, yeah, you know, you can't do it in a way which makes it obvious that you've been punching your wife to the rest of the community. So yeah, don't leave a mark on her face. As with this thing of not causing harm, that's I call bullshit on that as well, because the whole point of using violence as a tool to correct behavior is the fact that it hurts. There will be no corrective power in violence or the threat of violence if it didn't hurt. So to claim, oh yes, well, you can hit your, you know, you can't cause harm when you hit your wife, there'd be no point in doing it. So that's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't think all the hadiths say that. I think some of them are just talking about don't strike the face. I think there might be one or two which say don't cause harm, but it's completely contradicting the point of being able to hit someone. You use violence as a way to change behavior through use of physical force. And if it didn't hurt, it would be ineffective. This is a bullshit apologetic.
How could you beat someone up with that?
So as Muslims, we're actually being told we can't beat our wives,
No, you're not.
regardless of the situation. Tell me.
No, it's exact opposite. You're told specifically what situations you can hit. Nowhere does it say that you cannot beat regardless of the situation. No, it's saying here are the specific circumstances in which you can hit your wife. It's detailed in the Quran, and yes, if you want to lean on some of these hadiths to try and mitigate it, it is giving you specifics. It is the exact opposite of saying that you cannot hit them in any circumstance. So that is a direct lie and a direct contradiction within about 5 seconds of your own words.
Something, Dave. If you came home and Sharon was in bed with another man, what would you do?
I'd bloody knock her block off, wouldn't I?
Yeah, really, you're going to do that comedy term, right? First of all, yes. I mean, the fact that there are some men who would react with violence and their wife is cheating, which obviously I wouldn't condone. What's that got to do with the domestic violence that the Quran legally sanctions? What has one got to do with the other? And secondly, do you really want to pull at that thread? Because again, you think you're making a point here. What is the Islamic position on adultery for women? You stone them to death. So you really think you're going to make a fucking point by saying this random shabby stereotype that you've got of like an Islamic critic says I'll knock a block off when the Islamic punishment is to stone to death? What point do you think you're making here? Anyways, yeah, I hope everyone is looking forward to weekend, and I'll see you soon.